Alright, so this is the next video in the rebuilding of this DeLorean transmission video set that I'm trying to do. So the next thing that I'm going to do here is I want to disassemble this input shaft so that we can be rebuilt on this new single piece shaft. So for now I'm going to put that off to the side so it's kind of out of the way. Really, the first thing that you want to do, and the one thing you want to do while this is still in the box, is you need to get this roll pin out of the coupler. So these shafts, you can pretty much just lift them right up and out. You just have to make sure that, there you go, rubber mallet. You just have to be careful with them so that they don't drop or they stay assembled. These aren't going to go anywhere, especially this one since I haven't taken the nut off of it. But I'm doing this at the moment because I want to take the differential out. So always remember the direction that the differential goes in. If you put the differential in the wrong direction, you will have all your gears in reverse, except for reverse, which will go forward. And that is not good. So putting this back in. So I've got that just so that it'll sit nicely, so that I can knock this spring pin out. It comes, in this case, it comes out really easily because it hasn't actually been in that long. It's only been in about 2 years. So, and this is a little bit unusual. This is a spiral roll pin as opposed to a standard spring pin or roll pin that you would have. And that's because this being the upgraded input shaft coupler. So, and don't expect this coupler to come off so easily. Being brand new and being the updated one, it slides very nicely. Normally these take some significant pulling and prying to get them off of this shaft. And this shaft, I had one that I was never able to get the original coupler loose, and it's still in there today. So, but luckily this one I was able to. So, but I really won't be needing this shaft anymore in the future. This coupler I'll probably hold on to for research and other things, but otherwise. So for now, I'm going to take this shaft out of the box. I'm going to put this shaft, actually I'm going to put the differential back in the box and the output shaft back in the box, just so that everything stays together. So I definitely don't want to lose anything. So got to be sure to line, let's see, to line this bearing up such that this ring sits in that slot there, and then there it is. So you can see that that's meshed correctly. And that's all I'm going to be doing in this video set for this. In the future, if I've got a transmission that I'm rebuilding, I may talk about the selectors, but that's not really within the scope of what I'm doing right now. Actually, I'm going to take this back out. But you can see these are your gear selectors here. And this right here is the famous second gear roll pin that DeLorean owners will encounter. In this case, I've already gone ahead and done the double roll pin upgrade, which essentially just doubles the strength of this roll pin. A lot of times owners will have problems shifting into second gear, and it's because eventually the original roll pin, when you pull back on the shifter, you're pulling this you're pushing this rod this direction with this shaft, and it can, just want to get it back to the, there it is, and eventually you can shear that roll pin, and then you're kind of out of luck. You can't get into second gear. So that was a preemptive mod. I didn't have any failure or anything, but pretty much everyone agrees that if you're opening a if you're going to the trouble to open a transmission of a DeLorean, you ought to make that mod, because it's such a cheap mod. You know, the roll pin costs less than $1, and you know, all it takes is a couple minutes. So I'm gonna put that there for now so that it's safe. Car's up on jacks, you can see. So, and I want to talk about this shaft. So really the first thing I need is a nice box to put parts in as they come off, because as they come off, I want to keep them organized. So get a Sharpie. It's actually a really good idea to have a paint marker when you're doing this, because there are some things that you want to mark. Let me see if I have one available. No, that's just a really good Sharpie. Okay. Well, I've done this enough times that I'm going to mark it, but in the future I would recommend a paint marker. So we'll need a good set of snap ring pliers for this job, just because of all the snap rings that you have to remove. There's 2 main snap rings you have to get off, but they're not the easiest to deal with, so you'll definitely want a good set of snap ring pliers. So the first thing to do is this lip seal here. This is your, some call it the nose seal. Essentially seals the shaft and makes sure that no oil or anything gets through the shaft that goes out to the clutch. So that just slides right off the end. Then this is your nose bearing or your front bearing, and it is held in place by a snap ring that's in a groove. So this is the first one that you got to get out, and it can be pretty challenging, just because once they're seated, they really don't want to come out a lot of times. Alright, so after a little bit of fighting, I did get this snap ring to come out. If you end up deforming the snap ring, it's not really a big deal, because you're supposed to replace these anytime you remove them anyway. And if you're replacing them, you can replace them with a more modern type of snap ring that uses actually has holes for your tool to go into, which makes everything a lot easier when you're doing this. So the next thing you have to remove is this bearing, and underneath this bearing is a thrust washer, and both of them are essentially a press fit. And there's really 2 ways you can take them off. You can use a gear puller, or you can use a press. I don't have a press, so I have this gear puller that I got from Harbor Freight for, I don't know, 20 bucks or something. And it's pretty simple the way it works. You put these underneath, turn this over. No, it does go that way. You put these underneath the gear as you assemble this. Clamp these down, make them feel kind of tight, just a little bit. And then you have this piece. And just a note, anytime you're using this, especially Harbor Freight products that are long screws like this, I always recommend greasing the threads, because I once was using a Harbor Freight spring compressor, an external spring compressor. It was the same design. I did not grease the threads, and the spring compressor, I remember, I think one of the nuts sheared or something, because it was so much force I was using, because there was so much friction in the threads, and it was pretty scary. Oh yeah, with this you have to put this point in here so that you have a live center. Stay with it. So there it is. There's an O-ring in there, so it holds it in place. So alright, back to where we were. So this until it's very snug underneath here. And then take I think this is a 15 millimeter. Oop, nope. 17? Yeah. So you put that underneath there like that. Make sure that you got good contact. And then for me, I actually like to use an impact wrench with this. So 17 millimeter. There's the arrows. garage. Sorry. Whoop. Do have to be careful with that. I'll talk about that in a minute. Alright, so that did it. I don't know if you saw that, but pulling on that, it pops this bearing and that thrust washer. Now, one thing to be careful of is that inside, I'll put this back together just for right now. There are these, they're cylinders. They're essentially like cylindrical bearing cylinders that they act as detents with the 3rd and 4th gear selector coupler. I'm just going to go ahead and take them out. Sliding coupler. And there's the garage door. These mosquitoes are killing me. So, inside of this sliding coupler here, there are small pieces of spring steel that have been folded over into springs, and they hold these cylinders outward, and there's a groove cut in this collar that will it helps to hold the slider in place once you're in a gear so that you don't pop out of gear. So go ahead and put this. A couple things you do want to keep track of. This is the 4th gear needle roller bearing. It's the only one that fits here. Luckily, all the needle roller bearings that are on here, there's 3 total. There's the one for 3rd gear, 4th gear, and 5th gear, or 4th gear, 3rd gear, and 5th gear. They all only fit where they belong, so you don't have to really keep track of that. So for things like this bearing, I'm not sure if it's totally necessary, but I like to mark which side goes up. So that's why I keep a nice marker that I can use just to essentially mark it. So that way I'll know that end goes up. Another mosquito. Look at that. This thrust washer here, this can only go really one way, so you don't really have to worry about that. And then this is 4th gear, the 4th gear sliding gear, or idling gear. This has a synchro stuck onto it at the moment. There we go. So and then this is your brass synchro ring for 4th gear. So I'm just going to set them in here, and I'm going to set them in there together so that that one kind of stays with it. Another thing that I want to do is I want to mark this coupler ring. You really want to make sure that the 3rd gear side stays with 3rd gear and the 4th gear side stays with 4th gear. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put marks at all of the locations where the spring goes, so that I know that that's where the spring goes and that it goes up. And then I'm also going to mark where this inner piece aligns with it, just so that this all goes back together exactly where it is. Just because there could be some odd uneven wear pattern, and I want to make sure that everything goes back together just so that I'm not creating any new wear pattern. So the next thing you got to take off is this splined washer. I don't know if it's important for this to have one direction, but I usually mark it too. So that way I know that goes up. And then you've got another snap ring right here. So not sure how difficult this one will be, if it'll be as difficult as the last one was. It feels like it's spinning pretty easily, so if it opens okay, it might just come right off. So don't expect them all to be that easy though.